특히 엄마가. 그러니까 그게 더 무서워. 근데 너는
에서도 여당을 주도로 강행 처리.
너는 남자 발.
Sehi was pacing back and forth, her mind buzzing with one impossible question. How on earth could Ahyeon still be alive? She had expected nothing less than silence, or maybe a quiet burial at the back of some secret lab. But Ahyeon? Alive? That was the kind of plot twist that made even seasoned schemers like her pause. Ahyeon, on the other hand, was staring at the world with a mixture of horror and disbelief, wondering how humans could be so absurdly cruel. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, horrifying, yet she couldn't look away. Meanwhile, the president and his ever-calculating wife were sitting comfortably in their luxurious living room, eyes glued to the news on television. The latest chatter? The children's shopping law, which, if finally legalized, would allow the exchange of ovums and sperm to fix the ever-persistent low birth rate problem. The president was casually sipping his drink, completely unconcerned, while his wife shook her head, mildly annoyed. "You should really take care of yourself," she muttered, half joking, half serious. Of course, it wasn't her who needed to get pregnant, so the drinking was purely a visual indulgence, a performance more than a health hazard. Pretend pregnancies, it seemed, were all the rage in high society. Back in the shadows, Sehi's mind wandered to Sehi's daughter. The president couldn't fathom it. How could a mother sacrifice her own child for ambition, especially when the child was barely 14? Yet, there she was, balancing cold strategy with maternal facade, a high-wire act over a pit of moral collapse. The president's wife, ever perceptive, felt an irresistible pull to meet the girl, even if only once, just to see if the child reflected any of Sehi's legendary cunning. Meanwhile, chaos unfolded in a far murkier part of town. The survivors' young operatives had taken Sehi's daughter hostage, but not out of malice. No, their goal was simple: save Ahyeon. It was a twisted game of leverage, because Ahyeon had been arrested for acts Sehi herself had orchestrated. Sehi's daughter could hardly believe that her mother was capable of such cold-blooded schemes. Siwoo, ever the patient voice of reason, explained that the daughter would be exchanged for Ahyeon, a simple, you get her, we get her scenario, which was simple in theory but nerve-wracking in practice. The twist? The president's wife wanted to see the girl. Sehi got the message and, with a flicker of annoyance disguised as maternal concern, ordered her subordinates to release Ahyeon. The exchange went off without a hitch. Sehi's daughter was released, Ahyeon was taken away, and Sehi put on the most convincing worried mother act of her career. Right at that perfect moment, her daughter fainted. An act of genius or mischief? No one could tell. Sehi, sitting in her car, felt a wave of disgust when Ahyeon, bleeding and weak, the exchange served her larger plans. Her daughter was unharmed, and the madam would have been furious had she been injured. Ahyeon, now critically wounded, was a ticking time bomb in need of urgent care. But hospitals were a luxury the survivors couldn't risk. Enter Suksu, making a discreet call to Mrs. Park, a doctor famous for handling the unhandleable. Money was tight, plans were tighter, and Joan, whose past as a timid foster child had been replaced by a hardened strategist, hesitated. Memories of his adoptive father's church threatened to overwhelm him. Somi, sensing Joan's hesitation, didn't mince words. "Stop running, stop hiding," she snapped. "You're not alone anymore. Face this." And with that shove, figurative of course, Joan squared his shoulders and got to work. Suksu had already contacted Mrs. Park, who agreed to treat Ahyeon for a steep fee of 5 million won. The only problem? Where to get the money without raising alarms? The answer was painfully obvious. The church. Pastor Sehun's church, to be exact, where congregants generously stuffed envelopes into the charity box. Timing was everything. As the sermon began, the young survivors slipped inside, Somi and Suksu expertly prying open the box while Joan kept watch, silently haunted by a photo of Jooyoon Gyeol, a friend and perhaps first love lost to fate. Finally, success. The envelopes were secured. Joan, however, had other plans. He planted a bomb and quietly left the church, leaving Somi and Suksu staring in stunned disbelief. The resulting fire drew a scream from a congregant. Chaos erupted. But the money? Safe. Meanwhile, Sehi accompanied her daughter to the presidential residence, where the madam greeted them warmly. She marveled at how well Sehi's daughter had grown and subtly checked on her health, curious if she could now conceive. Sehi, with her usual icy poise, assured her everything was in perfect order. Then, the madam requested a private moment with the girl. Surprisingly, Sehi's daughter had no objections. She wanted to please her mother, to be useful, to be perfect. Back at the makeshift hospital hideout, Ahyeon's critical period had passed thanks to Mrs. Park, though Taesik's absence and the appearance of Siwoo left her uneasy. Somi made it clear that Mrs. Park's concern was appreciated, but unwanted interference was not. The medical team proceeded with the high-stakes procedure. The president's sperm and Sehi's daughter's ovum were combined. Sehi was ecstatic. Her vision of a perfect child was finally taking shape. Later that evening, the president signed the controversial new birth law, despite public opposition. Sehi, as expected, welcomed Kwon Kangmon and Pastor Sehun into her hospital laboratory, displaying viable and non-viable embryos with chilling efficiency. Defective fetuses were discarded without hesitation, leaving Kwon Kangmon nearly vomiting on the spot. Meanwhile, Ahyeon awoke, bandaged and bewildered. She asked about the mysterious benefactor who had saved her. Somi explained the safe-breaking antics, while Suksu handed over her phone. Detective Choi had left a message asking her to reach out. The prospect of living openly without hiding suddenly felt tangible. She approached Joan, longing for the comfort of old friendships, the warmth of trust untainted by fear. Together, they decided it was finally time to stop fleeing. The following day, Ahyeon installed a surveillance camera on the charity box at Pastor Sohn's church, monitoring every envelope and whisper. A mysterious shaman arrived, Somi in disguise, exposing the pastor's hidden amulet and orchestrating a ritual to honor Eun-gyeol's spirit. Joan revealed himself to his astonished adoptive parents, electrocuting his adoptive father in a fit of righteous fury and locking both parents in the church office. He blamed them for past betrayals, uncovering the painful truth that Eun-gyeol's death had been manipulated by their greed. Past wounds, anger, and heartbreak collided, yet in the chaos, they found justice, closure, and a strange sense of equilibrium.